I think we can go ahead.
Awesome, cool. So first of all, just thank you everyone for attending today. It is the 4th community call that we've hosted on this Discord. If you haven't attended any of the previous ones, we just kind of get together, talk about things that have been going on with Kyber, things that have been changing, and just, overall a general community call. So throughout this call as well, if you have any questions or anything, or even comments, whatever it is, feel free to just throw them in general chat, and we can try and address those towards the end, or just throughout at any point. So can get started then. So first things first, we do have one of the biggest news items and changes with Kyber that a lot of us have been, looking forward to is the Kyber DMM, which is now in beta. It is the next generation AMM, which is automated market maker. So it's designed to, unlike the other one, this has a lot more complexity, a lot of different stuff. It's designed to react to market conditions, like it can optimize the fees and earnings. There's a lot more efficiency when it comes to, providing this liquidity. So you've got dynamic fees, and these dynamic fees, it reduces the impact of impermanent loss. So if you don't know what impermanent loss is, it's a big deal, I guess, when it comes to providing liquidity, whether it's Uniswap, Kyber, any automated market maker, you provide this liquidity, and impermanent loss can basically eat into your profits, essentially, to keep it very simple. So with the Kyber DMM, there's dynamic fees, which are there to help reduce these by a lot. In addition, there's a programmable pricing curve, so they can liquidity providers can customize the price curve in advance, and this is called amplification or amplified pools, and this goes back to the capital efficiency. So when we say capital efficiency, basically meaning how much liquidity you need locked to provide so much in volume, right? So if it's more efficient, you can support way more volume with way less liquidity. So this programmable pricing curve, really helps with that. And of course, one of the biggest things for crypto and decentralization, it is fully permissionless. Anyone can add liquidity to Kyber DMM pools. Previously, this was not the case. Well, sorta. It was not as easy as 1-2 click deposit done. So with this DMM, anyone, me, you, anyone here can add liquidity, and so that's really great. There is blog posts live. This has been out for, I think, a little over a week or so. So definitely check it out if you haven't. I'm sure we can get a link in general chat to the blog post, but it's floating around everywhere. And if you're, prefer videos, there's an explainer video too. So we do have that. Just some basic stuff with the DMM. There have been integrations already. So we've got.
Sorry, DeFi, let me just add a little bit more the info around the DMM. So I'm going to just share a quick screenshot here on the general chat. So DeFi earlier mentioned about dynamic fees and programmable pricing curves, right? So regards to the point on programmable pricing curve, liquidity pool creators, they are able to actually adjust the pricing curve via what we call an amplification factor. So by indicating a specific amplification factor during the pool creation, they can actually increase the capital efficiency of that pool by the number, right? So looking at this example that I just pasted on the general chat for the USDC to USDT pair, you can see that the AMP factor here is 100. So this pool creator had created a M factor of 100, which amplifies the capital efficiency, or you can look at it as amplifying the liquidity for the pool by 100 times. So if you see that the current liquidity on the pool now is about 11 million USD, but the effective liquidity provided is actually 11 million times 100. So this is a very unique attribute of the Kyber DMM, the fact that it's very, very capital efficient. You just need to put a certain amount of liquidity into the pool, but with a certain amp, amplifying the liquidity in the pool, the liquidity providers don't need to supply a lot of their capital. They can use their spare capital in other areas in DeFi. So yeah, just wanted to share a very concrete example here. So Kyber's USDC to USDT pair has very good liquidity, as you can see. And this is just one case, one type of pool. Kyber is able to amplify the pools of other pairs as well. For example, WBTC to ETH or other stablecoin pairs. And we encourage everyone to play around with the DMM. There are certain pairs which have no pools yet. So if you're a big holder of those tokens, try creating those pools. And we start off with a smaller amp. While for the more stable pairs, you can try higher AMP factors. Okay, we can continue now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Shane. And there are a couple new people who have joined, so I do just want to say just one more time, any questions throughout this call, guys, feel free to throw them in general. We'll try and address them towards the end of the call or throughout if we can. So jumping back to DMM here, just some basic stats. It's already integrated by aggregators like 1inch and Matcha, and there's more on the way. So an aggregator kind of like takes all these different liquidity providers and, of course, aggregates them. DMM is integrated there. So to clarify as well, there's been some talk I saw on Telegram, I believe, and there's a little bit of confusion just about like what exactly sources liquidity from the DMM. So I just want to clarify too, Uniswap, SushiSwap, and Curve pools, like these specifically aren't sourcing liquidity from the DMM, but DApps such as like Crystal, which we will talk about in a little bit here, and the DEX aggregators that I just mentioned, like 1inch and Matcha, those are sourcing liquidity. So some just basic stats already have 21.3 million USD total value locked. The top three pairs of liquidity, Shane was talking about some pools that don't have some, but the top three, USDC to USDT, the ETH KNC pair, and then lastly, the USDC to EURS, yours, is that, I'm not sure if that's euros or stablecoin, I'm not exactly sure. And Kyber DMM, it's been obviously all in the news, so if you haven't checked the blog post, you can also check one of 500 other crypto media news sites where it is featured. And let's see. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So just to tackle some kind of questions that we've picked up in the community over the course of a couple of weeks about the DMM, I just kind of want to go over them. I'll talk about them here. So one to start is DMM fees will all go to liquidity providers at this early stage. The question is why? So right now, the DMM, it has not been voted into the network. There will be a KIP, or a Kyber Improvement Proposal, to vote in the DMM. So right now, it's not at all. But in this KIP, the team will propose that all the fees continue to be given to liquidity providers for now. But why is because it's critical at the early stage, just because it's so new and stuff. We really need to be offering the best liquidity, best rates, in for some of the most popular pairs. In addition to having like really good capital efficiency, it's just incentivizing this liquidity to be brought to the DMM. So, ideally together with the bonus KNC incentives for LPs, the aim ultimately is for the DMM to be the best place for both liquidity provision and sourcing liquidity. But eventually it really is up to the KyberDAO. So, up front, the liquidity providers are getting the fees, but that's not always going to be the case. And a lot of stuff does just get kicked back to KyberDAO eventually. It's like, and they will be the ultimate decider. So the fees will be going to the DAO later, absolutely. And the plan is eventually to, charge additional fees, and those additional fees are going to be given to the KyberDAO, which is the DAO that if you're staking, this is the DAO where you're receiving these rewards and fees from. And this is once kind of DMM just kicks off a little bit. Once it's kind of bootstrapped with that liquidity and stuff that's being incentivized early on. So yes, KyberDAO will eventually get those fees. As far as like what?
Yeah, just to clarify a little. DeFi, sorry for interrupting. Yeah, just to further clarify on this point, the main objective right now for the DMM, and it's something that we have tried to highlight a few times, is that we are really trying to increase the amount of tokens that are deposited in the DMM, increase the liquidity in the DMM. So even though it is extremely capital efficient, especially for the amplified pools, for example, the example I showed, like USDC to USDT, where we can amplify the liquidity by 100 times or even more. So this is just the first pool. We could create a pool which is amplifying the liquidity there by 150 times maybe. The fact of the matter is there still needs to be more liquidity added to the DMM, and it's still in a beta stage. So we are in talks with different token teams to migrate the liquidity from other sources or from the old Kyber reserve system to the DMM. We're talking to other market makers, other liquidity providers to use the DMM, and we're guiding them through the process, helping them understand the powerful benefits of the amplified pools. So it's a gradual process. We're doing this progressively because this is still in beta. We are also getting feedback on the UI and UX, and we of course welcome any comments that you have as well on our forum. And overall, we just want to improve the whole experience of adding liquidity and incentivizing liquidity providers as much as possible to bring up the amount of tokens that are locked in the DMM as soon as possible, so that in terms of providing a very competitive rate through having very good liquidity, we're able to achieve that as quickly as possible. So that is our main objective. But we totally understand that in the long run, there needs to be rewards given to the KyberDAO as part of the Kyber network once it's voted in. And this is something that we expect, this is something that we are planning for as well. But one point where we can really can seek the community's input on is what matrix should we look at to determine the level of like critical mass before we start charging additional fees on the DMM on top of the current default liquidity provider fees, in order to accrue more value to the KyberDAO and in turn to the KNC voters as well. So this exact criteria hasn't been set in stone, and it's really up for discussion. And we really encourage as much feedback and discussion around this as possible. And I see that we have a question here by Panagiotis on the general chat, right? On what are the competitive advantages of Kyber? I think since we are talking about the DMM, let's use this as an example. So let me just share with you another screenshot here. Hold on. I just shared a screenshot showing what Kyber 3.0's architecture is going to be like. So prior to Kyber 3.0, we are a single liquidity protocol that can be integrated by a lot of DApps, or we are integrated by over 100 different DApps. And there have been token teams that are providing liquidity onto the protocol as well. But with Kyber 3.0, we are expanding the whole suite of liquidity options for takers. So instead of just being a single on-chain liquidity protocol, we have the dynamic market maker protocol. That's just one. We are also going to have a professional liquidity protocol, which is an upgraded version of our current Kyber Pro framework and the FPR reserve system. In the future, we're looking at a derivatives liquidity protocol that is specialized, providing specialized liquidity for derivative projects on DeFi. And in the future, there might be more as well. And we are talking to developers in the space in creating new protocols to be added into Kyber network. So what Kyber is going to become is a hub of purpose-driven liquidity protocols, each protocol having a very specific specialized use case that other systems in the space might not be able to provide to DApps or aggregators. So our first major protocol that is added to this liquidity hub is the DMM, and this allows retail liquidity providers and users or any token teams to provide liquidity permissionlessly for the first time for Kyber. And this liquidity can be used by aggregators like 1inch and Matcha, and we are also in talks with the other popular aggregators in the space already to integrate with the DMM and utilize the very capital efficient liquidity there. So apart from the DMM, these aggregators or DApps, they can also utilize other protocols in the hub, but it is up to them to customize where they get the liquidity from in order to ensure the best rates for their users. So Kyber 3.0 offers this flexibility that is not available elsewhere. And specific to the DMM, if you're asking for a comparison between the DMM and Uniswap 3.0, for now, because Uniswap 3.0 isn't live, they have deployed some test contracts. They have also released a blog post around it, but the only information we have is from there. And based on that information, from my understanding, one similarity would be how they intend to be a little bit more capital efficient compared to their current version by utilizing something called concentrated liquidity. But one major difference between Uniswap 3.0 and our Kyber DMM is in terms of their fees. So Uniswap 3.0 has some fixed fee tiers, giving liquidity providers some options on what kind of fee tier they wish to use. This is in contrast to their current Uniswap 2.0 version, where they have a fixed 0.3% liquidity provider fee. So for Kyber DMM, our fees are dynamic. We try to offer, we allow liquidity providers to earn fees based on the current market volatility for that token, for that pool. So when there's very low volatility, there's very low volume and price volatility, fees can increase so that it encourages trading volume, and overall fees collected will be higher. And when the market volatility is very high, we can increase the fees so that when there's a lot of demand for that pool, for the liquidity in that pool, they're able to charge more. Yeah, so having this dynamic fee where when it's low market volatility, lower fees to encourage higher trading volume, and when there's high market volatility, increase fees to capture more of the value. We help to reduce the impact of impermanent loss, and we also offer this very dynamic, very flexible kind of fee mechanism, which is unique to the Kyber DMM. And this is on top, of course, of our very highly capital efficient DeFi pools and other benefits of the DMM. So if you are interested in more details about Kyber 3.0, let me just quickly share the links here on the chat. So if you have not read the blog post on Kyber DMM or have not watched our explainer video, please share it there. Please watch it. I've just shared it on the general chat. Okay, DeFi, do you? Please continue.
Awesome, cool. Just jumping back a little bit here. Previously, we were talking about like jumping in this discussion about some of these things that we need the community to. So if you aren't aware, we do have our governance forum, which has been live for quite some time. So like all this discussion and stuff around this, please direct it towards gov.kyber.org. This is where a lot of our discussion around like fees and that sort of stuff is gonna go. And I do want to make one last comment too. Again, kind of something that was discussed a little while back, as far as like incentivizing liquidity up front and not so much the stakers. I myself am a staker, not a liquidity provider, but in the long run, as a staker, right, our fees are generated specifically through volume. More volume, more fees. More fees go to stakers, right? So if we can't get enough liquidity to support a lot of this volume, it just means that stakers are also going to suffer. So, so I do think just want to point out that I think it is really important to incentivize this liquidity up front and then focus on shifting it towards pushing fees towards stakers. I think that's really cool. We can move on to the next point or next topic, I guess, which, might, you might need to take some action if you haven't. It's about the KNC token migration. I will explain all of that right now. So there was a KIP number 6. Again, it's an improvement proposal, and it is to vote on whether or not KNC should undergo this migration, which is going to support upgrades and other stuff in the future. Overwhelming support. It got approved, of course. The KNC token is now being upgraded, and so anyone who was holding KNC previously is going to have to migrate. So what this means is if you held your KNC on an exchange such as Binance or Coinbase or anything where it's not your physical wallet, obviously you don't have to do anything. In 99.9% cases, the exchange themselves will handle it for you. However, if you're holding your KNC on, say, a Ledger, a Trezor, MetaMask, Trust Wallet, Kyber Swap, or the new Crystal wallet, if you haven't already, you will have to migrate. And this means too, if you are staked as well, you have to unstake and then migrate. We have a whole lot of info on this, and I will try and explain this more here quick. There is actually a migration guide I saw, and I think a video was actually pushed out today too, just to make it super easy for you guys. Okay. Shane just posted that in general English chat. So if you want a video kind of guiding you, walking you through it. But what this means, if you're staking, for example, so if you're staking at whether a pool or manually, you are going to have to go to the legacy version on Kyber.org, which is going to display your balance. You're going to have to unstake there, remove them. Then you can migrate, and then you can restake. So I do also want to mention on restaking, with this migration, there's been contract changes. It's not the same exact token, right? Well, as far as like contract wise. So because of that, some of the pools, such as the Kyber community pool, Unagi or New Unagi, they need an upgrade in order to support this, which should be coming soon. So in the meantime, you're not going to be able to stake again through these pools right away. They are not supported right now. X token it is available. You can stake through X token, and they will conduct the migration on your behalf as well if you're staked with them already. But right now they're working. Otherwise, if you were previously using community pool, you're just going to have to sit tight for a little bit longer, and we can get until the changes that need to be made are made, and we can support this new migration or the new token after the migration. And also, I do want to point out one thing too. As far as the migration, just make sure with this KNC being migrated and having two tokens, it can make things pretty tricky for exchanges. So if you're going to send your KNC to Binance or Coinbase or any exchange that you use locally, you might want to check with them first, right? You don't want to accidentally send them the legacy KNC and find out that they only support the new one, or vice versa. So This shouldn't, be a long-term thing, since the migration is so new. It's just kind of like, yeah, right now. But that's just one thing to make sure you kind of check out first. Next on the list, we have the KNC Ecosystem Growth Fund. Loy, he submitted a forum post, again, on our governance forum, which you can go and check out. We hopefully can get a link in general chat here. And in that governance post, he kind of talks about this ecosystem growth fund and basically how we can use KNC to bootstrap liquidity and kind of a catalyst to get, the DMM and Kyber to grow up front. So there's been a lot of talk, a lot of suggestions, especially, on Telegram and on the forums as well. So please, bring your feedback, check it out, check that post out. It's important we get all the community's feedback. And yeah, so I see Shane posted over there. So if you haven't checked that out.
Yeah, this also pertains to what community member Panagiotis was asking earlier. So for your question, right? Like, why do you think LPs will migrate from other sources to the Kyber DMM? So one of the ways that we can, again, for our main objective of increasing liquidity on the Kyber DMM and Kyber network in general, one of the ways that we can incentivize LPs would be to provide, bonus incentives for certain pools. So, for example, the USDC USDT pool, where Kyber already, with just $11 million locked, we can amplify that liquidity by 100 or more. If we are able to further incentivize liquidity providers for that pool, we do expect a substantial amount of liquidity to flow in. And on the other hand, for takers that have integrated with the DMM, aggregators like 1inch, Matcha, other DApps, they will be able to receive very good rates due to as the liquidity increases for this pool. And if Kyber is able to command the most competitive rates for USDC and USDT and be known in the DeFi space as having the best liquidity for USDT, the best rates, we do expect a lot of more liquidity and more takers integrating with DMM, more volume and more fees. And so there will be this nice positive feedback loop over time. But in order to kickstart this whole process, there needs to be a catalyst, right? There needs to be an initiative which actually encourages more liquidity to be added in. And this is where we want the community's input on how we can create a Kyber ecosystem growth fund and how we can use a portion of it to bootstrap liquidity and to encourage growth. So there's going to be trade-offs. It's a very important topic, but it's something that we need to discuss as a community. And before we actually draft the KIP for this, we want to have as much viewpoints as possible. And we are also speaking to our advisors, our partners, our delegates, our other popular ecosystem players on how they can work with us to bootstrap liquidity on the Kyber DMM. So I've shared the link on the general English chat. Please leave your comments there. There's some interesting questions, interesting viewpoints there already. We welcome anything, any kind of viewpoints there. Just make sure there's everything is constructive, and you can back up your points as well with some reason. All right.
Awesome. And it looks like, and just another follow-up question about gas fees. So I do want to chime in real quick. I think last call we actually discussed just how the team is researching L2 up front, first of all, and I think someone posted a nice blog post with some of their research. But in addition to just, the team researching possible L2 solutions, is there, what's the word I'm looking for? Is there like optimization for the DMM for gas fees. Do you know, Shane? Is there going to be any improvement there?
If you take a look at the screenshot I shared earlier in terms of the whole Kyber 3.0 architecture, so as a hub of liquidity protocols, the takers, the DApps, aggregators, they can actually utilize the protocols that they want in order to ensure that gas fees are at a minimum. Specific to the DMM, overall, the whole Kyber 3.0 architecture will help save some gas compared to the current architecture because of this flexibility. But if you're talking about specifically the DMM protocol, from beta to the mainnet launch, at this moment, I don't see much of a change from beta to the mainnet launch of DMM. So Kyber is primarily based on Ethereum. We're subjected to the Ethereum network's congestion sometimes and the gas fees. But like DeFi Dude mentioned earlier, we have a dedicated team that is actually researching on layer 2 scaling solutions. And if you take a look at this article, you can see that Kyber is very well versed in all the existing popular rollup solutions right now. The Kyber team was also did a lot of research into this, into Elastico, which was a research article that inspired Zilliqa, which is a very popular scaling project. So we have also dabbled into plasma research with Gomos in the past. So the whole Kyber team and this dedicated team that's looking into rollups and looking into L2, we are very well versed in all the various solutions out there now. I think the question is which solution is most suitable for Kyber, which solution is the most widely adopted, right, on Ethereum, so that composability isn't broken, or if there is a new kind of a scaling solution that can be created by Kyber that would be very suitable for our DApps, for aggregators, that other projects in the space might want to use over the existing solutions. So I think that is the question that our team is trying to address right now. But currently it's still in a research phase. And if you're talking about just the DMM, then from beta to mainnet, no, I don't see much changes in the current gas fees.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We can jump on to the next thing here, and this is the recent Crystal announcement. So if you missed it, basically, friends over at KyberSwap, they released Crystal, which is, it's a kind of a one-all platform. It has a wallet, you can swap in it. There's lending, just a whole bunch of stuff. Mobile app. So check out that post if you haven't. A lot of stuff to read about it, but just kind of some points on Crystal itself. Essentially, it was released by the KyberSwap team, and if you aren't aware, upfront, KyberSwap and Kyber Network, they are two separate teams. KyberSwap was incubated from Kyber Network early on. However, moving forward, they are completely separate. And KyberSwap is a specifically decentralized exchange that kind of pulls from Kyber Network and is built on top of Kyber Network, right? Whereas Kyber Network is the overall network itself. So with Crystal was released recently, and it's going to take advantage of the DMM. So, the relationship between Crystal, there's some talk about, how is Crystal going to fit into this and stuff like that. So, we have tried to make it clear in the past, Kyber Network and KyberSwap are two completely different, but at the same time, they still work very closely. And, with Crystal, it's, they will be working closely with, both teams. Well, it is KyberSwap team, sorry. So Crystal will be working closely with Kyber Network team, even though they have like the full liberty to operate however they want. But some questions kind of come up with this Crystal announcement. Maybe we can get a blog post on the Crystal announcement. But what's the relationship between the KNC token and Crystal? How does that kind of fit into place?
So actually, we have Sunny. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Just because I noticed that Sunny.
Yeah, hi.
From the Crystal team, his username here is Bounty Hunter. He is the lead for the Crystal project, and I think he can also shed some light onto the relationship between Crystal, KyberSwap, and Kyber Network. So, Sunny, maybe you want to share more.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep, can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Shane and DeFi Dude. Really good to be here. So so to tell everyone that we already have a blog post where we have explained all this thing about the relationship between Kyber swap and Crystal. But for the sake of reference, I would also I'll also mention it here. So as Shane already told, Kyber swap was incubated in Kyber, but it has been a separate team from the very beginning. We made several announcements even at that time also, and we have been constantly repeating that thing over the last year, more than a year. And that is the reason why Kyber swap always have its own separate social media channel, like be it Twitter or Telegram. So Crystal is a product by Kyber swap team. Yeah. So the team behind Kyber swap and Crystal is same, but it is different from Kyber network. So that's very plain and simple answer to the relationship between Kyber swap and Crystal. Now, the relationship between I see that a lot of people ask question, right? Are we using the KNC money or the ICO money to build up Crystal or Kyber swap? That is not correct. I would say, as I said, Kyber swap was incubated in Kyber, and ever since we started, Kyber swap is for profit, and Kyber swap has its own revenue stream. We were getting commission for forwarding all the trades to Kyber, 7.5 basis point. We did processed over 2 million ETH last year, just 2020 alone. So we have, and then we have been also trying to arrange fund for Crystal. So that's how we have been working and building Crystal. Now, yes, but definitely now, because we do have a connection with Kyber, because we were in Kyber swap was incubated in Kyber network. So we do closely discuss with Kyber team on potential synergy that we can have that could mutually benefit for both Kyber and Crystal. So, for example, Crystal is considering integrating with Kyber DMM. Okay? And also another way to look at it is that Crystal has integrated with Uniswap also, right? So, and then Uniswap and Kyber DMM being the one of the two big players, I would say, can we call competitors in the market? So, but we did choose to integrate with Uniswap. So that's the level of liberty and independence that we have, because we are separated from Kyber.
Yeah, I think it's important to have this distinction, because Kyber network, as public infrastructure for any taker to source liquidity from, and for any liquidity providers to add liquidity, the long-term vision is to build a sustainable liquidity infrastructure for the entire decentralized finance space. If not the leading one, that any taker can source liquidity from, and any LP can provide the most capital efficient kind of way of providing liquidity. And it's important that there's no bias towards a specific product that shares this either like the same name, like KyberSwap, that previously was incubated with Kyber. So Kyber Network, as a team, we have worked with many top DeFi projects in the space. KyberSwap is just one of them. InstaDApp was a project that they won the ETH India hackathon, building on top of Kyber. We have very close ties with the team. They are also one of our ecosystem delegates for the KyberDAO. And there are other projects over the years that we have worked with. So KyberSwap has launched this new initiative called Crystal that is independent from Kyber Network. And Sunny, since you are talking about Crystal, maybe you can just share a very quick introduction to what Crystal is. And I believe personally that Crystal will actually bring substantial volume to Kyber Network once the DMM is out of beta and is integrated. Sunny, you want to share a little more?
Yeah, sure. So the vision that we have for Crystal is we want to build a platform that seamlessly integrates all the DeFi. I would say like all DeFi things. That's why we give it a name, one platform, all DeFi. So that's not limited to just being a DEX protocol aggregator, right? Even though that's one of the scope of Crystal. So just to illustrate it further, right? So for example, we plan to have a lot of services under Crystal. At the launch, we have Swap, and for that we have integrated with Kyber Network and Uniswap. But we do plan to add, DMM, Sushi, and many more. Now, and then we have also provided, first time the lending services for people to, just deposit their tokens and earn interest. For that, we are aggregating, Aave and Compound, the two biggest platform. So in future, right, we do have plan to scale horizontally and as well as vertically. Like vertically, like we gonna keep on adding more services under the swap, under lending, but horizontally we would be adding more services. For example, there would be liquidity provisioning. We also have plans for the farming activities, and then also even cross chain is something that we are seriously considering. And so it's gonna be a very exciting year for us at Crystal. We just get launched. It took us almost it's quite a long time to plan it out and roll it out. And so now the product is launched. We are really looking forward, and we are very thankful, and we are really looking forward to serve the community and grow the DeFi together.
Awesome. And I do want to just make note too with Crystal coming out, this migration, all this stuff going on in Kyber. Just remember, guys, it's important to stay vigilant out there. There's going to be a lot of people impersonating Crystal team members or taking advantage of the migration. So just remember to try and stay safe. Never give out your private keys or seed phrase or send anyone money. The team will never ask you. But awesome, cool. I think last on my list for today, I can kind of just finish up with some updates for the community pool, just really quick. We kind of did discuss this earlier, but just as far as like the migration, if anyone here is staked on the community pool, just remember you are going to have to unstake and eventually migrate your KNC and restake. But our current contract does not support the migration, so you're not going to be able to restake just yet. So I do, just for the time being, feel free to DM me if you have any questions or concerns about it. But in the meantime, really the only steps to be taken is to unstake and migrate, and that's it. Unless you want to restake with X token, which is the or solo stake, which both support the migration. But otherwise, yeah, just kind of be a waiting game for just a little bit longer, and we will make sure to update everyone. That's all I have. Shane, did you have any extra points, closing remarks, or anything you'd like to add, or anyone else?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that the space now is really very exciting. Like the DeFi you mentioned for Kyber Network ourselves, we have Kyber 3.0, and with the migration of the KNC and the KyberDAO, it actually marks the beginning the first phase, right, of Kyber 3.0, Katana. And later in the year, in Q3, we will have a second phase, which is Kaizen. So in this Katana phase, we do expect, the main objective would be to increase the liquidity for the DMM. Now that the migration for KNC is underway, please migrate your old KNC to new KNC. You haven't done so. And the KyberDAO is also migrated. There's a lot more flexibility. There's a lot more control given to the KyberDAO like a community to govern the whole network. So there's no there's no proposal. There's no major change to the network that can be done without a vote being passed by the KyberDAO. So as a KNC holder, you have a stake in the entire liquidity infrastructure for DeFi. And this Kyber 3.0 journey is not a one-time date that we're looking for. It's going to be a process throughout this year, and we have achieved some milestones already with the launch of DMM beta, with the migration. So things and with our collaborations with ecosystem projects like Crystal and others as well. So there's going to be a lot more exciting news ahead. As KNC holders, I think beyond fees from the KyberDAO, there might be other benefits of being voters on the KyberDAO as well, through value that's accrued from ecosystem collaborations, from integrations, for more liquidity. So we will share more news around that later in the year, but there's the whole space is innovating very quickly. We're very excited about Uniswap 3.0 ourselves as well. I think they have really listened to community feedback, just like Kyber, and they are improving upon their current Uniswap model. And once it's live, we can do more comparisons. But for now, we are very excited for them. Huge congrats to them as well. And for our DMM, we are really focused on increasing liquidity. We think we offer a very unique option for liquidity providers. And if all goes well with the discussion around the Kyber Ecosystem Growth Fund, I think we can expect bonus liquidity incentives, or what is known as liquidity mining, for liquidity providers on the DMM for some pools. And if Kyber can offer the best rates for those pools, I think naturally we'll see a lot more liquidity and volume over time. And I think today Ethereum, the Ether price also hit all-time high as well. So it's a very exciting time to be in crypto. We are very thankful to the whole Kyber community for sticking with us, supporting us, and we appreciate any feedback that you can share with us. So thanks, DeFi, for hosting the call. And nothing else from my side.
Cool. There are just a couple questions I just want to address real quick before we wrap things up. Zabu, about migration. I mean, as long as you have internet, you should be good. There is that migration guide that was posted. Definitely check that out. And if you need any help with the migration, just feel free to reach out to me in a direct message or something wherever you get stuck. And happy to help you along. And then Panna, he says, or she, can you provide a specific roadmap for this path as far as like 3.0? For example, when will the DMM leave the beta phase? Do we have? I don't have that answer. Shane, do we have any idea of when DMM will leave the beta phase?
It will be soon, but we don't have a fixed date, because actually some of the discussions with our other ecosystem partners, we're still having discussions with them, and we can't release the news prior to prior to these integrations being finalized, and prior to some important discussions that need to take place first. For example, the Kyber Ecosystem Growth Fund. So we are doing this progressively. I think it's important to take it step by step and not throw in everything on a single date. But we definitely have a plan in terms of the marketing and media exposure for the DMM. we feel that it's prudent to focus the attention on DMM once it's out of the beta phase. So currently, we are doing more like behind the scenes feedback collation with our partners and improving and optimizing the UI and UX and the smart contracts if needed. We will release the audit report soon as well. We also have insurance for the DMM that will cover a certain amount, and we will share the news about that later as well. So due to certain confidential discussions, we can't release all the news at one time, but rest assured that we have a lot of things planned in the pipeline.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think that's all we got. So we can wrap it up there if everyone's cool with that. Thank you all for attending today. And again, feel free to stick around in Discord, keep any questions, our Telegram, where to reach us, or and of course the governance forum. Do not forget that. We definitely would love community discussion and comments on the governance forum as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.